Hello again, Ghosts. Think I got all the things straightened out. Hopefully. Gonna jump right back into it. Now that everything seems to be working properly. Luke Cage from Netflix versus Halloween 6 Michael Myers. I'd probably say Luke Cage should be able to win that. I mean, if bullets bounce off him, I don't think Michael Myers would have enough strength to actually pierce him. But we did see what Bushmaster was able to do to him. So we don't know what Michael Myers' strength is compared to those two people. I mean, Michael was able to shove a guy's skull through a steel cage and break the door down. And his feats of strength are pretty up there. What's going on, Death? Welcome back to the stream. Just in time for me to come back on. Was having some internet issues. Apparently my stream was a tad bit choppy, so we had to stop for a second and come back. Luckily, while I was fixing it, Ghost sent me some really nice pictures of the figures that he was working on. Or already did, rather. Like, those look really, really good. I love the Michael Myers mask that you did on that one. And of course, the undead sackhead Jason. Like, that was a really, really good job on that one, too. No worries, Death. That's why I keep them on the channel once they're done. So that way, if you guys happen to miss any of them, it goes right to the channel. You can pop in, see what you missed. Well, I bet. When I got my first Trick or Treat Studios 2018 Michael Myers mask, I actually repainted that. Funny story with that was I started painting the base white into it, and when I tried to start adding some of the weathering and the black paints into the cracks, I went to wipe the black paint off in order to give it the weathered effect. But when I did it, it started peeling the white base back off, which was a pain in the ass, to say the least, to get all of that off and start over again. It took so long to get all of that paint back off, which in some parts did not come back off. Luckily, it's the 2018 mask, and it was supposed to be sort of weathered, so that little bits of paint being pretty much clumped up in certain areas actually worked to my advantage in that. But once I actually got all the paint off and I started repainting it again, I let it dry after the base for at least 2-3 days, and then I started working on the weathering, and I did everything extremely slow. Which I actually have a video of the painted one that I did. The one I use now, I have not altered or touched. Once I pulled that one out of the box, I felt like the paint job on it was already perfect enough, so I didn't want to touch it. But I had like 3 of the masks, 2 of which I sold. One I sold that was unpainted. The other one I sold was the actual painted one, because I wanted to do another one again at some point in time, which I'll probably, now that they're a lot cheaper and in stock, because it's not Halloween season, I might grab 1 or 2 and repaint them whenever I get the chance, because it was a fun process. But as of right now, I wanted to make sure I got some screen accurate work-right coveralls for it. And I also just received not too long ago the dead eye. That's on my Instagram, where I have the dead eye in the mask. Hey Devin, welcome back. Yeah, I guess I figured today while I was on the Nightmare Toys site, I just went ahead and pre-ordered the 2018 knife too. Might as well complete the whole set, and it was cheap enough. It's like $15. The other option was either paying $40 for a prop maker to make the knife, or maybe actually buying a real knife for $9 and trying to dull down the blade, which I'd rather go with the Nightmare Toys Trick or Treat Studios version, just because from experience of when I went out with my Freddy costume and the reaction people had to my Freddy glove, I don't want any cops getting the wrong idea. Especially in today's climate. Oh, we're talking about the Trick or Treat Studios 2018 Michael Myers mask. I had one that I repainted a while back that I did a video of on the channel. Yeah, they definitely should do more voodoo stuff in Chucky. Like, I think what's his name from Hatchet? Was it Papa Midnight? No, that can't be right. Basically, Tony Todd's character from Hatchet would have been a good other side of the equation to Chucky, since they both have bits to do with voodoo. Oh, gotta go. Oh, shit. Nope, gotta go. Oh, shit! What the hell? Oh man, that made me kind of clench up there for a second. I don't even know where the hell I'm going. So I was thinking of getting the NECA Part 3 Jason mask to sort of upgrade my hockey mask that I have now. Because I'm very particular with the chevrons that he wears on it. Which took me so long to find the one that I have now that had the perfect chevrons. Of course he's coming this way. Get the hell away from here. Which I'd probably say if you want to get the Michael Myers mask now, it's probably a better time to get it now than closer to Halloween because those prices skyrocket. If I remember right, I seen them upwards of $300 to $400. Right now, they're just like 60 plus tax. Yeah, I personally prefer the 3 chevrons, but it's also dependent on the version of Jason that you do. The rock throwing perk, what that does is pretty much if you're in the killer's heartbeat vicinity, it activates it. Like you have to stay in there for so long until it activates that perk, and then while crouching, when it's activated, you can throw the rock to pretty much divert the killer into that direction. So let's say if I had it now and the killer was searching around this area, I could ultimately throw it off into the distance over there, and it would make the noise notification to where the killer would ultimately think I went over there. Oh shit! Oh shit! I keep hitting these curves. Don't do it! Don't do it! Oh, I walked right into it. Oh, no, Ed. that wasn't Noed though. No! Shit! Mary Shaw versus the Hag. I mean, that could be anyone on that one. I think they both would be pretty evenly matched. Alright, but I haven't seen everything the Hag is able to do that would be outside of Dead by Daylight. From Rick and Morty versus Batman. And from what I heard, Rick is pretty powerful. I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot of Rick and Morty, but from what I heard, he's supposed to be pretty powerful. It's not a bad build, Death. It actually seems like that should work out for you. Plus, you can always sort of sub out the rock perk for was that perk is that was it lightweight to hide your tracks if you have to run. I mean, it doesn't hide them, but if you get a tier 3 version, I think it cuts the time down dramatically on how long they're on there. I think I have it on her. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, running is light and soft, make your tracks harder to follow. Scratch marks stay visible for 1 second less than normal, and that's a tier 1 one. So I believe the tier 3 it's like 3 or 4 seconds. Hey Brian, how you doing? There it is, diversion. Standing within the killer's terror radius while not in the chase for 45 seconds activates this perk. Once the perk is activated, press the active ability button while crouched and motionless to throw a pebble, which creates a loud noise notification for the killer at a distance of 20 meters. Perk timer resets once the ability has been activated. So yeah, there you go. That's pretty much what that does. It depends on at what point in time you hit Harley with the fear toxin. Because there was a time that her greatest fear would have been losing the Joker. Now I think at this point in time it's a fear of him coming back into her life. Because like pretty much everything with her is based around the whole concept of love. So it's love lost, love gain kind of thing with that. I don't think Michael and Jason are supposed to be the same height. I mean, maybe compared to part 2 Jason to part 1 Michael, they might be around the same, like 5'9", 5'10"-ish. But once you get into like part 3, part 4, Jason's height it shoots up there. Michael Myers versus the Punisher. I mean, Michael's more of a stealth killer, and the Punisher is very much sort of say razzle dazzle kind of thing, like where he's out and about and lets his presence be known. I mean, he has some stealth feats as well, but Michael is all about stealth. I mean, it all depends on the situation. So, I mean, it could be something very easily where Michael tries to go after the Punisher, and the Punisher's paranoia has him already prepared in multiple ways for something like that to come after him. Which I'm assuming, Brian, you're talking about Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. Which, yes, he was, I believe, almost 7 feet tall. Yeah, Michael from part 4 and up and Jason from part 6 and up, very, very similar in height. Like, both of them hit growth spurts after a certain point. But yeah, I would probably say they're both about the same. Up until maybe you reach Freddy versus Jason, where they went to Ken Kurtzinger, who's I would say maybe around the same height as Tyler Mane. I may be wrong, there may be like some height differential there, but to me, to my eye on screen, they both look around the same height. Yeah, he did play Sabretooth in the original X-Men. I don't think the Joker really has a fear. Like, the closest you might be able to go with is essentially losing Batman. That would probably be his greatest fear, because that's his one and only audience member that he performs for. Yeah, I saw both of those movies, like way back when they first came out. I haven't watched them since, but I have seen them. Which I thought I remembered them saying something about possibly doing a third. I didn't want to use those that early, but had to. To be honest, I think Jason in Part 6 is a lot more overpowered than people give him credit for. He was almost entirely impossible to hurt. You could knock him around a bit, but it really didn't mean anything. Like when bullets are passing through him like air, and it does literally nothing to him. That's pretty powerful. That was even more powerful than Part 7 Jason. You want to attack me or what? I have the slightest clue where the fuck I'm running to. His ankles might have been a little bit too sore. It's probably why he left me. That's not good. Don't have barbecue and chili. Don't be coming this way. God, I thought that was him there. I didn't even get the notification that he was in Tier 3. I'm coming for you. Hang in there. I give you all the heals. Why do I have a feeling this Michael has no Ed? Just waiting for any moment. I knew it! Get the hell out of my way, woman! Guess I'll go make the save. Oh, never mind. Is it safe to go back? Nope, not safe. Not safe at all. I regret everything. Oh shit. I'm getting the hell out of here. Oh shit. Yeah, Ash would be a very fun addition to the game. But it would be pretty much how you would work his mechanics in. I mean, do you have him as the killer where he sees everyone else as Deadites? And then you can make Deadite skins for all the survivors? I mean, that'd be pretty interesting. Bubba Sawyer versus Jason, Part 4. I mean, I think that might be circumstantial. I think in a straight up fight, Jason would win. I think he's more stronger than he is. Oh, you got borrowed time. Run! And pretty much Bubba with the chainsaw in that particular movie, yeah, he's dangerous, but he's not like plowing through people with it. Rob Zombie's Michael Myers versus, I'm guessing, See No Evil Kane too. I'd probably go with Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. I've seen enough from him to know how scary he is going against, like, if pretty much who I would rather go against. Probably say Jacob Midnight from See No Evil. I'd rather go against him than Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. I mean, I was thinking kind of that too, Brian, where you could make Evil Ash as the killer and the survivor could be good Ash. But I think with having Ash seeing all the survivors as Deadites, and that's what makes him the killer, like he's corrupted by the entity, then you don't miss out on the chainsaw hand and the shotgun. Because, I mean, with the survivor, you don't really have much you can do with either of those items as a survivor on here. Now, if you added Ash to Friday the 13th and that was like something he could pick up in one of the cabins, that'd be a different story. But I think when it comes to Dead by Daylight, the killer aspect of Ash would definitely work out a little bit greater. But I'm definitely not against an Evil Ash being on here using an axe or even the chainsaw. I mean, you could even give him the chainsaw hand and have, instead of the shotgun, using the Kandarian dagger as a swiping, sort of as a swiping weapon. Definitely. Especially after seeing the newest survivor that came out with Legion, Jeff. Like his skin that he has with the face paint and you like the whited out eyes. That to me already looks really good. It was a great addition to the game. In some cases you look more intimidating than the killer does. Plus, me personally, if they were to do that and give me Ash on here as a killer, then Ash as a Deadite, and then the Deadite skins for all of the survivors, I would buy all 3 packs separately. So from a consuming standpoint, they would be making a pretty good bit of money from fans like me. Yeah, it would definitely have to be some kind of cooldown on the shotgun. Or just make it Mori exclusive, giving them the chainsaw for like the sort of like a hillbilly kind of sprint. And then using the Kandarian dagger as a swiping weapon, and then use the shotgun as a Mori. No problem, Death. I'm not sure who holds the rights to Evil Dead. They've been all over the place. I know, I think it's New Line that holds the rights to the first film, if I remember right, which is why they were able to get the first Book of the Dead on Jason Goes to Hell, like that particular version of the book. But it's like every incarnation has a different rights holder, which if I remember right, Ash versus the Evil Dead couldn't even reference Army of Darkness for a good portion of its run because Army of Darkness, the rights holder for that, never signed off on anything where they could mention anything that happened in that film. At least not until the last season. Which is why you don't see Ash with the medieval robot hand. from what I heard, Death, Bruce Campbell retired from the role, but I think for the right price, he'd come back. I think the cancellation of Ash vs. the Evil Dead kind of took a toll on him at first, and he had a knee-jerk reaction and just wanted to give it up for good. But I think if they really wanted him to come back, he'd come back. If they were doing anything plausible with the character. Like, as close as him and Sam Raimi are, you're not going to tell me that if he went to him and told him that he wanted to do another Evil Dead movie, that he wouldn't be there. I mean, Robert Englund did say he would play Freddy for one more round. But he wouldn't be able to do it for another 3, 4, 5, 6 sequels. It would essentially be a passing of the torch. Which brings me to, I guess it's becoming one of my more favorite go-tos, is passing the series off to a new killer. Like, I would have liked them to actually have it, like I said in a past video, where he influenced Jesse into killing, and Jesse became the new Springwood slasher. You could still do that with a whole nother character, a whole original character. It doesn't have to be a character from the past. And pretty much make it where Freddy is getting weaker because of his influence over this other kid that he's essentially training to be like him. The only thing is, like they do with whenever a monster creates another monster, the newly created monster is arguably more evil. So he would ultimately take Freddy's place and his power. You could still have him wear the sweater, you could still have him wear the glove, or not. You can give him an entirely new weapon, new look, and carry on and make it a new Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, they could swap his face onto another body, but the draw of horror movies is that they're cheaply made and you make a lot of money on the comeback. So, like, if you make a movie like Halloween, for example, they made it for maybe $15–20 million and it made over $200 million. Like, trying to use those kind of digital effects for Freddy on every single movie, a studio will ultimately look at that and just be like, it's not worth it. You might as well hire someone else if we could save like a couple, like tens of thousands of dollars here and there. The original Leprechaun would destroy the Leprechaun Origins one. The Leprechaun Origins one was just ultimately seemingly like one of the creatures from The Descent in my eyes. He had no real magical properties, while the Leprechaun, the original pretty much had ultimately like no limits. Alright, so we know we're going against a trapper. And stay the hell out the way of tall grass. He really didn't see me. I think if they kill Michael Myers in this next movie, and then a sequel that followed that, I think it needs to be a completely original killer in a new area. Because the Haddonfield story would be done. Michael's story would be done. And pretty much you just tell a whole nother like story from another perspective from another area of the country. And like pretty much you can make references to Michael's story here and there. Especially once the murders start happening, you can pretty much throw it out there. We haven't seen anything like this since the 2018 and 1978 murders from Michael Myers. Is he like camping then? Trying to get his attention. Think I was successful. Get that door open. Please don't have no end. Please don't have no end. I'm free. I mean, Brian, they got a pretty good fan film. That I don't know if I talked to you about this. I know I said it in the chat before. The Krueger fan film. The guy that played Freddy on there was actually pretty good. Like, if Robert Englund was to never play Freddy again, I would gladly throw him out there as Freddy. Or at least a living version of him. Looks like he got out. I would say he got out. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Oh no, I always liked the title that John Schnepp came with off of was it Collider Nightmares? The Nightmare Before Elm Street. I think that's what it's called, Ghost. I think that's the channel. Like I said, I'm gonna have to do a video at some point in time, giving my top 10 like fan films. I was planning to do something like that with ranking my favorite Friday the 13th as well. And giving like a brief reason for each one. Probably something I'll keep in mind for the next Friday the 13th. Which I don't know when the next one is, actually. I have to look that up. If it's too long, then it'll probably come way before that. I mean, they could implement some of those things, like the micro naps. That was a great touch on things. Like the only thing is with it is pretty much that I didn't quite understand is while the micro naps are going on, it looks like Freddy can affect the physical world. Which doesn't make any sense. Like when they're in the store and he's scratching his claws along the piping and stuff like that. But then when it flashes to the real world and he's swiping out, it's knocking like baby powder and stuff off of the shelves. So that part I didn't quite get from a continuity standpoint. Because she wasn't holding on to him going in and out of the micro naps. Which would have been an easy explain then. But pretty much when he started doing that, and it made it seem more like he can affect the physical plane to an extent. It was just like a little nitpick I had here and there with that. Aside from the major nitpick I had of him even having the glove in the first place. But that goes back into my reasoning of why I didn't like the remake. With turning him from a child murderer to a child molester only. You could have still had him molesting children and being a child murderer at the same time. You didn't have to separate one out with the other. But that's ultimately what they did, and it, in my eyes, ruined the character's origin. Oh, that's nice, Brian. I might have to check that out. Just because you worked on the thumbnail, I'm going to check that out as soon as I get off here. Matter of fact, like I told Ghost earlier with the pictures, if you can, go into my description box below and send me the link to that in my Facebook. So that way I could check it out after getting off here. Not gonna lie, Death, when I first saw you write J6 versus Creeper, I instantly thought the Creeper from Batman. It took a moment for me to register that Jeepers Creepers. Yeah, send me a link to both. Alright, pretty much anything you want to show me, just send me the link to it. But I think the fight between J6 and the Creeper would probably end up being Jason winning that. Because that Jason has no fear and you can't really hurt him. Oh, he's... I thought he might have whispers. That's not good. Oh, shit. Why do I feel like Leatherface is camping in the basement? Oh shit! Oh shit! I don't know why I did that super early. Come on, people, get working. I'm running out of real estate. I love... Oh, shit. Sideways. Yeah, I've been wanting to do something on the Creeper for a while, Origins-wise, but there's just hasn't been enough information on him, aside from being ancient. I mean, I could do my theories as what it might end up being. Just hang in there. Oh shit. Come on. I'll try to get everybody out. If only I had borrowed time. Couldn't hit that corner quick enough. Come on, Unbreakable. Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Yeah, I think the Creeper might actually be more demon based on what they showed us so far. I'm thinking, if anything, it may be a story similar to that of Dracula. Or at least some of the stories that have become associated with Dracula. Yeah, I think Blade versus the Punisher would probably fall more in the Blade's favor. Unless the Punisher actually sees him being alive. Like, the puppets mostly work best off of stealth, so that would be pretty much, if they lose that, then anybody that's like trained like the Punisher actually is could end up taking them out. I mean, I always thought the monsters from Signs were aliens. At least from everything I've ever seen. But it's been that's one of those movies again that's been so long since I actually seen. I wouldn't have been able to pick up on the little Easter eggs and stuff like that here and there. Oh, Blade from Marvel. With that, I'd probably go with Blade then. Blade is essentially just as deadly as the Punisher, but with vampiric abilities. I thought I heard somewhere that Wesley Snipes was actually interested in bringing Blade back and somehow interjecting him into the MCU. Not sure how valid that actually is, but if that were to happen, then that means the MCU was ultimately kicked off with Wesley Snipes' Blade. But I see it being more so that Blade being more in the separate Deadpool universe than anything, since Deadpool ultimately won't be in the MCU. At least not Ryan Reynolds' version of it. Unless his popularity makes the executives at Disney change their minds on that. I'd still think Blade would beat Michael. Blade's weaponry alone, and then being even half vampire, should be enough for him to like run circles around Michael. But that's ultimately the thing. We don't know the extent of what a supernatural Michael Myers can do. Like when comparing him to someone like Blade or like mutants like Magneto or anything like that, like the power scaling is going to be majorly off. Especially considering the worlds these slashers come from. There's no real hero to counter them as far as power. Which is something I always thought was interesting, that my mind's always been that someone like Jason drowns, gains the ability of practically immortality, invulnerability, and all of that. Like, there's no way just in that one part of the world that happens once. Like, I would have thought that pretty much in that world there should be others like him that have gained the same abilities that Jason has, and not all necessarily need to be evil. I don't even want to say evil, because I never perceived Jason as being evil, but I always thought that pretty much it's extremely rare that something happens only to one person. So, like, gaining some kind of ability like that, I would think that there would be another somewhere. I mean, maybe that's an unpopular opinion or so, but I would think that there would be more than one person with the abilities of, like, Jason, Michael Myers, or even Freddy. Like someone to act as a counter. Like you have Freddy being as evil as he is, but then you also have someone else who more so is the opposite. I mean, Death, no one's ever actually tried giving him a hug. I mean, they just run away, and pretty much he just has been angry ever since. Yeah, bro, it's hard for me to go against anything Jason, let alone at this point in time Jason from Part 7. Like, Part 7 is a little less powerful in my opinion than Part 6, but he's still, like, top tier, like, supernatural killer powerful. You are right. They do confirm that there are other supernatural entities in the Friday the 13th universe. I wouldn't necessarily throw Freddy in there, just because Freddy is a part of the New Line universe that they created for that. They do make mention of him in the Tommy tapes, if you're counting that as the canon to the original series. But the original series and the New Line worlds are separate. At least to every report I've ever heard or read, the intent with that was to use part 1 and bits of part 2. And pretty much that was the basis of going to Jason Goes to Hell and after that, which is why we never hear a reference of Tommy. We get an entirely new character in Creighton Duke that has a history with Jason that we never seen. And like, we get maybe a vague reference here and there of Jason's past, like in Freddy vs. Jason. But Tina, you're dead on with. Like, Tina is very much proof of alternate supernatural things happening in the Friday the 13th world that doesn't involve the Voorhees family. Plus, like I said, like, if you count part 8 as actually part of that canon, which I mean you can, albeit all the continuity issues that it has, there's still no signs of Tina's father's body at the bottom of the lake with Jason. So somewhere there could be a undead guy running around Camp Crystal Lake. And because he's not inherently a killer, no one's ever really heard of him. He might be running around with the bag on his head to hide the grotesque look on his face. Yeah, it was like the whole thing, the most Tina could do was just slow Jason down. There wasn't really anything else that she could have done with her powers. Find a new lobby. How many machete slashes can a Thorn Michael take from an undead Jason? 1. If it's a real good one, Jason would either decapitate him or chop him in half. If it's a slash, like sort of like how Tommy got against when facing against Roy, I think he could take multiple one of those. But if we're talking close range, actually Jason catching him with that blade, Michael would only survive once. Like, not once, but he would only be able to take one, I should say. I don't think she was able to throw Jason really anywhere. Like, as we see, she barely had a grasp on moving a matchbook, and she was learning her powers under duress that entire movie. Like, she was struggling to get any kind of hold on him that she could. Now, if she could completely control them, maybe she could toss him all around the camp. or the woods or wherever she wanted to go. But at that point in time, she was a novice. And Jason, following part 6, was a little bit more adapted to his powers. Yeah, Jason was clearly teleporting in part 8. And it seems like, for the most part, it almost seemed like he could drive people crazy just by being around them. Like with Rennie. They kept throwing it out there like flashbacks or something like that, but to me that's not what it felt like. It felt more like, because Jason was in close proximity to her, she was having all of these, because she was having the hallucinations way before Jason even attacked, if I remember right. Favorite Friday girl? Jenny. I've always stuck with Jenny on that. She's always been my favorite of any of the movies. I mean, seemingly he might be becoming more supernatural with each death, but the way I look at it, which I was going to do some kind of a video on, trying to explain how I feel like the death curse should work, but I figured it would come up in chat, so I just pretty much put it out there with that. The way I felt like it would work is, after Jason died, I would even say after part 4 and was resurrected, the death curse took hold, and at that point he's sort of living on borrowed time. He decays more and more, and after each death it just accelerates the process. Sooner or later his body's gonna break down to where it cannot any longer handle the death curse, and ultimately Jason will die for good, and it'll ultimately move on to a new avatar of the death curse, which is why, if we actually count something like Badlands, that there was no supernatural killer at Camp Crystal Lake at the time of Jason's drowning or Pamela's murder spree. It's ultimately, it had no avatar until the events of Jason's drowning. And with that, it had to choose, I felt like, between Pamela and Jason. Pamela ended up getting killed, being decapitated, which I think is good enough to kill even an undead Jason. But it followed Jason around, probably even kept him alive if he survived in the woods alone. Probably kept him alive all of that time, but he was still in a living state until part 4. Once he died in part 4, the death curse itself was able to reanimate his body, and the death curse is what I think the lightning bolt was. So eventually, I would probably think that once the Jason's body has completely been decimated due to decades of decay, he would eventually be too rotted for the death curse, and it would move on to the next one. That, or it would be where Jason, his end game would have to be that he needs to be reunited with his mother. Wow, okay. I thought he didn't see me. I knew so. Oh, wow. Wait, but why? Oh, shit. Wasn't expecting that. Go this way. Oh, and Hextron. Well, that's not how I wanted it to go. I can see up your skirt. I see you, Brian. Thanks for hanging out. Lead the way, my friend. Oh, getting a little reckless there. The chainsaw dance. I don't want to go like this. Where are you putting me? Where are you taking me? Going on a trip? Hey, I know that person laying down over there. Oh, thank you. I'm a trying. Calm down. Tommy versus Mikey. I mean, Tommy arguably got lucky against Jason multiple times. So, I mean, theoretically, he should be able to get lucky against Michael Myers, too. The only thing is, Michael isn't as emotional as Jason is. Man. What are you doing to the generator? Can I even show this on YouTube? Oh, you're getting a little reckless there. I'm here, you lead the way. Jason and Michael working as a duo versus the Wrong Turn Cannibals. I mean, that'd be a tough one, because you're talking about three brothers that work cohesively together. versus two of the most legendary slashers of all time. But I'd probably even say that, you know what, Jason and Michael probably would be able to win. I mean, Michael is stealthy in himself, but his particular type of clothing doesn't work well for the woods. But having Jason's experience, I think, will be in their favor. What's he doing? I guess he might be taking him to the hatch. I'm gonna escape. Franklin's Demise, Barbecue and Chili, Hex Ruin, and Bamboozle. Not bad. That's what I thought he was gonna do. Apparently, he just wanted to give him one last chainsaw hit before he escaped. Which I definitely appreciate killers like that. When we have two people that disconnect early on, it's almost too easy for the killer to just dismantle the last two people. Especially if we're going up in the ranks the way we are. Like, granted, we're not rank 1, but we're not exactly rank 20 either. So anytime you go against someone, a Leatherface especially, that allows you to just farm points on a match that would otherwise just be a complete dismantling, you gotta appreciate that. I mean, he didn't even have to do that, and I wouldn't have been mad at him if he would have just killed us both. But I mean, it is what it is. Alright, all that time you didn't realize I got a new subscriber. Thank you, Yulu, for subscribing. Hope you stick around for this stream and many more, as well as some of the Dark Theories videos I put out. See, with that, I kind of think that's like a unfair sort of fight between the two, because you got two physical beings against two supernatural, non-corporeal beings. Like the Hammer and the Juggernaut from 13 Ghosts versus Michael and Jason. Whether they're Thorn or Revenant or not, they still have physical bodies that can be very much damaged, while they really wouldn't be able to do any damage to either ghost. So it would sort of be an unfair fight between the two. It's not too bad so far. We actually, I think, broke our day record for streaming. Granted, it says an hour and 45 minutes right now, but that, along with what I did the past stream before I was having internet issues, now up to 3 hours. Try to find a game. This will probably be my last one. I'm once again getting hungry. It is after 1 o'clock in the morning here, and I must seek nourishment. The Juggernaut Marvel versus Broly Dragon Ball Super. I mean, I'm inclined to go with Broly, just because, like, the way Broly was depicted in that movie was just way too I don't even want to say overpowered, but he was on like God level. I felt like, maybe not God of Destruction, but if Super Saiyan Blue is supposed to be God tier, then Broly way, way, way beyond that. Like whenever it takes the strongest incarnation of a fusion to beat one character, that, keep in mind, is only at, you would think, maybe Super Saiyan 1. That is enough to tell you, like, imagine a Super Saiyan Blue Broly. That would be ridiculous. I don't know on that one. Like, both are pretty powerful, but I would probably, if I had to choose between the two ghosts, I'd probably go Gogeta. Yeah, because I mean, Vegeta and Goku together did force Jiren to sort of alter his strategy. Granted, he wasn't using his full power against him, but he still had to up some things in that fight. Like, he noticed very much once Vegeta changed that that was going to be a tougher fight. Once Goku was effectively using Kaioken with Super Saiyan Blue, that made him alter things a bit. I think if they would have fused into Gogeta, they would have still been able to defeat Jiren. The only thing I say in the fight with Broly and Jiren is I don't think Jiren would have gave Broly a chance to build his power the way Goku and Vegeta did. That doesn't control that computer. Plus, you think if Gogeta is a form of Goku and Vegeta put together, then that means pretty much even if he went against Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku, Gogeta would be able to tap into that same power at some point too. So even if Mastered Ultra Instinct was more powerful than Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, who could possibly also multiply his power with the Kaioken, he would also still have access to Mastered Ultra Instinct the same way Goku would be able to access it. I feel like every time I start the match like this, at this particular generator, it's always the Wraith, and he finds me. The Wraith or the Pig. Oh, he knows Freddy. Oh. Someone's down. I run this way. Is it possible to kick the birds at some point? I can't get out that way. Okay. Go ahead and walk away from this situation. Okay. Thought he was like right there just watching me leave. Stop moving. There. Wake your ass up. Move, you bastard! Go! Oh my gosh. Now, hiding on the sidewalk is not exactly considered hiding. Oh shit. Alright, get the hell away from there. Why? Why did you not move? You people are gonna get me killed. That's a tough one, Goose, because I believe the red lanterns are actually capable of harming the black lanterns. Oh, found me. Oh, that was a little bit quicker than I was expecting. God damn it, Freddy. Oh, Franklin's demise, really? Yeah, trying to be as much of the hero as I can be. Can I get behind a rock or something here? I will take that. That's a death hook for him. Yep. And I come through in the clutch. Come on, keep them busy for a little bit longer. That was not a little bit longer. Ooh, adrenaline. Oh, fuck. Remember me? This may take a bit. Hopefully he's on his ass. And no Ed. Shit, this is not good. I don't hear him yet. Well, I want to go back for him, but okay, he's picked up. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm so indecisive. I wanted to go back for him, but once he got picked up, there was no way. Death hook anyways, probably. Probably good thing too, because he had blood warden. Alright. So on that note, I'm going to end it here. And hopefully be back on tomorrow. Hopefully with no internet issues. I see no mic issues as far as for tonight, so working our way up. Alright, and pretty much, especially with Ghost Jason, you already know if you ever want to get a hold of me, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, all that other good stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Good night.